All right. Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Justin Mickle, CEO and co-founder of News Compass, and welcome to Zero to One. I'm here with Todd Bailey, um, CEO and founder of GreyDot Marketing or GreyDot Media.
That's me.
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
media, but we're transitioning to marketing. So either way, it would have worked.
really? That's cool. I didn't know I was on time like that. Um, you've done a bunch of stuff. Like I have taken a bunch of notes, and I like your website's kind of a rabbit hole too, where it just keeps going as far as your client list. Um, You worked with Doco, you worked with Midtown, you worked with Foot Locker, you worked with a couple like US Space is crazy as a
Yeah,
client.
that's a
Like
really cool project.
that's how did you get there? Like what like US Space? I have to ask about that one.
Yeah, so US Space, these guys are actually developing rocket technology. And when I got the phone call for that, I kind of thought it was a joke, but it was actually coming from an existing client who we'd been working with for a while. He was with another company and he still is. And it's actually a project his dad and his brother are working on. So I was like, all right, I don't know what this is about, but tell me more. And they had a really terrible, ugly website and branding, and we helped them kind of come up to speed considering the amount of cool things that they're working on. And yeah, that was just one of those things where it was like just happenstance. And now I get to say like I'm working with a rocket company. And so they're still working on their product. I know they were going into actual testing. They got like a full grant and like working with NASA and some other cool stuff like that. But yeah, that was a pretty cool one to have on the client roster for sure.
That's so dope. I mean, okay. How important is it to have a good website as a company apply for grants if you're doing rockets?
That was one of their biggest things is they were saying that they were kind of running into an issue where they just kind of weren't being taken serious. And given their previous website, I can see why. And it wasn't just for the grant side of things, because I think they had already been awarded the grant, surprisingly, from their really limited website. But they were running into these issues where they were talking to potential investors and other people in the space, and they didn't have a dedicated website that really spoke to that authority, and they also didn't have like branded emails and some of these other pieces that really kind of set you apart from someone who's just dabbling versus someone that's really taking their business serious.
Holy, holy cow. That's awesome. Like, wow, big deal. I mean, I saw it and was like, okay, this makes sense how they didn't get taken too seriously. But it's kind of interesting when you think about it, like from a citizen perspective of, okay, there's this company that's doing features, basically feature technology,
Yep.
but they have a crappy website and they can't be taken seriously.
It amazes me, man. I see lots of people across tons of different industries that have this perception of excellence, really. Like, I don't want an interior designer whose website doesn't make sense. Like, I don't want a rocket company whose website doesn't make sense. And, we've seen it in so many different verticals, but it always cracks me up because to me, I use the analogy that your website is like a digital handshake. And you don't want this like gross, kind of wet handshake when you
Oh,
meet someone in the same
yeah.
way that you don't want to land on a bad website. And humans are naturally judgmental. This is literally what our brains are designed to do. We have to categorize everything, and we do it in a perception of like milliseconds is how quick like we actually like identify and categorize anything. And so it always cracks me up when I'm like, wow, you're really great at what you do, but your website doesn't look great.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect segue because honestly, like marketing is really perception. Like, how do you worked with Doco. Doco is one of those big cases where it was originally this more, I don't say dry or boring, but before they did the huge renovation of the whole space, you really brought a whole bunch of life to it. But, your site you guys boosted the efficiency of the ad spend by 315%,
Yep.
lowered the cost of bringing a person distance to leave their house, down from like $5 and seven something cents. Let me see if I have it.
Yeah, I should know these numbers off the top of my head too, but yeah, that was a really proud moment for us when we got to start our work with Doco, and it's been a few years now, and we love them. I'm a Sacramento native, so I love seeing Sacramento grow and kind of develop its own character, culture, and all these things. And to me, Doco really represented that initial wave of transformation where we really started to like want to grow and want to do these things, and mixed opinions based on like the routes that we take to pay for it. But to me there was still this piece of downtown, like that's a fixture of downtown that had kind of really just decayed through time. So when there
Hmm.
was this idea to like really invigorate the community, I was in love with the concept. And then fast forward a few years later, getting to present and make our proposal as to why we think we should have been the ones to take over and manage their socials and their digital ads and all that other good stuff. We really came into it with this idea of like, yeah, we give a fuck about Sacramento and we will do whatever it takes to make sure that that message is relayed and echoed, and as big of a microphone as we can put on all the various businesses and engagements, and not even just the Kings or all the cool things that happen at the Golden One Center, but really this idea like this could be this collective hub for all of us. So
Yeah,
yeah, we pulled out all the stops to really make that happen, and we caught some quick wins, and we still continue to find great results as it relates to those ad numbers too. And that was it for us because we knew we were working with a budget that needed to be stretched, and not because they're a small name, but just because like these ad dollars they were spending prior were just getting evaporated with next to no visibility. So that is a very proud case study in our work there for sure.
that's awesome. So, okay, like this one is one of the big ones that I really want to focus on as far as like just understanding, because you brought a lot of people to a location that was previously decaying and dying, like straight up, as far as the amount of care that the community was taking in it, the amount of people that were walking in foot traffic. Um, like I see people walking past all the time going to Dogo. So how do you do that as like a marketing agency? Like what's this like how, you know?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is the biggest thing, man. And that's why that ad budget was so important is if people don't know and they're not seeing these things happening, they have
Hmm.
nothing to identify with. And that was categorically what my experience has been in Sacramento at large is I hate when I find out about cool things after they've already happened, right? And so between just consistency in the ads and making sure all these initiatives were getting the light of day, and also showing up in people's feeds and showing up consistently, because you need to see a piece of content way more than just one time before
Uh,
you actually are thinking about action and actually going to follow through with some of these things. And truthfully, there's just been so much great programming, not only just inside the Golden One Center, but the various partners in the area from, Visit Sacramento to the River Cats and now the A's and the Downtown Sac Partnership. Like there's all these people that are doing cool things that when all these pieces kind of move in unison, we start to see the effect. And it is a challenge because it's not without its issues. I mean, Sacramento is growing, but with all growth comes growing pains, and really just showing people like there's variety, there's options, there's experiences. It isn't just shopping and leaving. It's, I want people to come downtown and I want them to explore, like even
mhm.
outside of Doko, beyond like that corridor. I want people to just kind of see and experience and find their tribe. It's
Yeah.
less about like this one size fits all and more of like choose your own flavor. Like how are you going to explore today, and really trying to convey that. And another piece that I think was really critical that I'm a huge fan of is just collaboration, man. Whether that's an influencer activation or even the choice of some of the photographers and videographers and other people that we work with, it's really trying to activate the city from a forgive the obvious pun here, but from
Yeah.
a multitude of lenses.
Right on. Right on. That's really good pun, by the way. If we like you have how do you tell the story where it's like, I mean, the biggest thing when it comes to marketing is building that trust immediately, right? It's building, because right now we live in a time where people are afraid to leave their house. How do you get
Right.
someone to go from I will never leave my fucking house to I will walk, drive wherever to this location to attend this event where there's other people around where I'm, socially exploring, and I'm, how do you kind of build that sense of community through your marketing? I definitely can hear strong narrative, but how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. And my answer is a default of storytelling, man.
Hmm.
And everything tells a story, and I recognize that. But really, we try to curate a story as much as humanly possible while also accepting some people aren't going to get out of their sweats. You know, they're happy to stay in the comment section, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But as much as possible, I want to showcase a variety of stories that someone can resonate with, whether that's event specific or merchant specific or just broader Sacramento narrative. The storytelling, and really storytelling is the most critical piece of all of this collective human experience that we have, from sitting
Right.
around a campfire to today. The through line through all of that has always been storytelling, so we lean on that as much as we can, knowing that we have a very limited amount of time of people's attention that we're going to get, so is going to be as impactful as possible. That's always our goal, and we recognize, like, the platform or the eyeballs or whoever, it's not always going to resonate, but we're going to give everything we got to make it.
Right on. Right on. I mean, okay, because you like did the same thing with Midtown, basically. So you've worked with like communities. What's the approach with working communities compared to working through things like Foot Locker or things like you worked with a gym. Remember this gym? Oh my gosh, how do you say it?
Oh, oh my God.
This is so terrible. I have it written
Yes.
down and I'm looking at it too. I'm looking at the exact name. It's
Evexia. Club
Evexia.
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 Yeah, out in what is that? The East? No, that's not East Bay. Anyway, but they're in the Bay Area.
Hmm.
Yeah, multitude of clients across a few different verticals there, and funny enough, it kind of goes back to storytelling still. So our partnership with Midtown Association is another one that's very near and dear to me, because without Second Saturday, there would be no Cope, no Todd, however the label lands. But without Second Saturday, I would have never known that these cool things were even happening. And this is prior to Sacramento even having its own voice and its own
Hmm.
scene, if you can call it that. Like, there was these
Yeah.
things happening that luckily I got to be a part of at a young age and see, and it really planted seeds that later for me getting to work with them was like a holy shit moment. Like, we're actually filming for Second Saturday and Farmers Market and a lot of the initiatives that go into that, because they're not just, you know, putting on a farmers market. There's actual activations throughout the city of
Yeah.
safety and cleanliness and addressing
Yeah.
some of these concerns, why some people will be like, oh, I'm a little adverse to going downtown, but really there's people that really are behind the scenes doing a lot to try to
Yeah.
better that community. And so getting to tell that story was awesome. And then as it relates to Club Avexia, they put in a ton of effort to create this beautiful space along the water, and really we were just trying to capture that vibe, you know, like getting up there at sunrise, putting the drone out there, a ton of different shots. And so much of that credit goes to Clay, who's the creative visionary on so many of these projects that I get to have my hands in and
Mm.
provide some creative input. But really, I try to let the creators create, man, and get out of their way. Like, I can have a vision, but there's something about that collaborative vision combined with the storytelling, combined with the community pieces, that just make this recipe for success that you're highlighting. But I don't feel like I deserve enough of that credit,
It is
really.
insane. So, I mean, okay, just to take it piece by piece, right? Second Saturdays is every second Saturday of every month, or
Hmm.
right? It's, and then you guys work with Farmers Market, just building Sacramento's voice. I mean, Sacramento, Shaq is gonna be pissed when he hears about this. But when Shaq first came here, he called us a cow town.
He called us a
Um,
countdown. I know
he called us a
that's
cow
part of the
town.
chip on my shoulder. So whenever I run into Shaq, I'll happily say, you know,
I
I'm willing to
mean,
battle you on that.
he is basketball coordinator of Sac State. It's fun. It's fine, right? No, no big deal, right? He's
No,
paying
no,
his
no
dues now.
lasting beef. That's for sure.
Especially Cowtown. Was that another pun? Um, so I mean, we've gone from Cowtown to we have a thriving market, we have, you know, a thriving infrastructure, we have a voice, we're doing stuff, stuff's happening, you know. Sac is officially like the way I describe it is it's a small town in a big city. Like it's very connected, which is kind of amazing.
It
Um,
is. It is, for better or worse, depending on who you're talking to. But I love it. To me, the
yeah.
the fact that we're 1 degree of separation from everyone, I think
Mhm.
just forces people to do good. And yeah, there are some bad actors, but there are always going to be opportunists in the space. But what I've always loved about Sacramento is those people that are really pushing to make this city great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it definitely deserves a lot because it's the capital. It does some good stuff here.
Yeah.
Working with on the other side of the aisle, right? Working with a gym that's in the Bay Area, working with, gyms that aren't, that are really luxury. Like I was on the website, I was poking around doing website, research for
It's
the podcast,
pristine.
but
Yeah.
it looks insane. Like I
It's
have
gorgeous.
like, wow.
Yeah.
You have an oceanside view, you have a bunch of fitness classes, you have a bunch of spas, you have um amenities. Like one of the things that you had on the website was you had a conversation and interview with the founders of the company. Um,
Mm.
what made you decide to do that approach for the gym and then do a bunch of like individual street interviews for second Saturdays? Like what's the key decision factor there?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So the second Saturday, we wanted it to feel like you're a guy on the street. We wanted to have that experience of what it's like because those were not scripted. We had a loose idea of some people that we wanted to talk to that degree, but really we did want to showcase the true essence of what it's like to be out on a second Saturday. And so we're gonna snag some sound bites of people taking an art tour and getting their perspective, the artists, some passerbys, whatever that might be, because that really spoke to the authenticity. And for Club Avexia, doing that interview with the founders, it was really about trying to showcase not only that space but the heart and the ethos behind it and what brought them to making that decision and a huge financial decision to want to put something in that space. And so we we worked with them to really decide like what's the message you guys want to put out, because they were early, they were just opening, in addition to shooting all that beautiful sexy b-roll of the space itself.
Yeah.
It was also just to kind of showcase like this is the vibe you're going to get, this is who we
Hmm.
are, this is why we decided to open this place, and inviting people in. And really like that's the same theme for both. We were inviting people in, one was to a space, the other is to a place, but it's all about just bringing those people together.
Right. So the way you're looking at it is from first person perspective as the potential customer who's looking to either be interested or might be interested and is just not convinced yet. Does that
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it because really I think where a lot of messaging and marketing really fails is it makes the person doing the marketing the star of the show. But
I agree.
really when someone's making a purchase decision, it's not because they're like, I like that star of the show. It's like, no, I need something for myself that I want from this person. So
Right.
flipping that narrative and that angle to where you're customer centric while still of course getting your story across, it does make a huge difference because we're watching and we're deciding and making these decisions based on how they resonate for us, not for the
Right.
person paying for the marketing.
What makes a strong narrative? Like when it comes to marketing?
Clarity and simplicity more than anything, man. If we are burning too many calories to figure out what someone's going to do for us, then we're already creating barriers to why we will not follow through or act on that. So
Right.
it's how quickly can you convey a message that speaks to them being the customer and solving their pain point.
Right. That's good. That's good. I mean, especially when it comes to creating sensations and creating a big buzz about a thing. So, I mean, you're revitalizing an area and then bringing attention to a farmers market and then second Saturdays for artists, right? And really capturing that artistic vibe and
Mhm.
that artistic energy with it. Then going to fitness space, capturing that vibe and that energy. Then going into you worked with a boating company, like a ship dock. Do you remember this?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I feel like I'm quizzing you on your own stuff.
Oh, no,
Um,
you're fine. This is good because
Sweet.
it's pulling so much from the archives right now. Because yeah, Riverbank Marina is another great client. We've been
Mhm.
working with them for years, and yeah, they again another one of these spaces that really lends itself to being displayed in a really cool up to date way. That they were checking the box, but I can say definitely get the pleasure of saying, you know, we definitely brought a different
Yeah.
energy to it, and that one's just like how can you not love a good Sacramento like sunset on the water like that? Like
Mhm.
again, these things just kind of write themselves at times.
That's fair. Okay. So when it comes to like making a commercial or an ad, what's your thought
Mhm.
process? What's your like step one, step two, step three, step four. Like run through it.
Yeah, it's definitely having the conversation of what is our intended effect, right?
Hmm.
Do we want to create action? Are we creating awareness? What is the action we're trying to create? And so with that, we then kind of work backwards as to like, okay, well, in the case of Riverbank, they just needed to show the space exists. This is the amenities that are available. And it's got to look good and feel thoughtful because this isn't just like a rinky dink kind of like pull up your little 6 foot boat and
Yeah.
call it a day. Like, no, there are massive boats. There are tons of opportunities there as it relates to what kind of client they're really trying to seek out. Whereas an initiative like the Midtown Association, we've told a multitude of stories in a multitude of formats. And sometimes the artist is more the focus, sometimes it's the placemaking and the activations. And it's about that Sacramento centric messaging. And then sometimes it's just this is, and not to oversimplify or say just to
Hmm.
from a limiting perspective, more so we need to move this product. And so
Right.
we're speaking to this is the intended outcome that we want that client to experience when they do press buy now and they do get that product. And so it's whether that's awareness or more closely to the bottom of the funnel to actually create that action to conversion. It's about understanding where people may be in that buying journey. And sometimes people know I have no idea who you are. So expecting them to pull out their credit card and swipe that,
Hmm.
it's unrealistic without really creating that pathway to that purchase.
Right. But to do that in under 50 seconds is difficult.
It's
So
incredibly challenging.
you
Yes.
like, I need more detail. Like, I need more. Okay. Because, like, I mean, even if I haven't gone to Doko or you've done some restaurants which look
Oh yeah.
fantastic, like the food, you see pictures of food, you're like, okay, this is good food. I would totally eat this. Right. And then you kind of get a story of what the culinary chefs have done to make it. And you're like, okay, this is really good. This is an
Yeah.
interesting environment. This is a vibe that I would want to be in. This is an experience that I would want to have. And that's kind of like the core thing that I've seen throughout, kind of looking at your content, kind of researching what you've done. Um, like if we bring it back to just something as basic as telling stories, and how to tell a story effectively for people to stick to it and to like internalize that dialogue, um, how do you get in people's heads?
Great question. I think the simplest way to put that is creating tension that creates an emotion. And in a story loop that you create for people, you do have to have like these main characters and they do need a guide and they do have to come up against some sort of adversarial opponent or struggles or whatever that is. But the end relief is them, achieving that goal, standing on the mountain, saying I did it. And as much as possible, it's creating that kind of emotional attachment. And that's really hard to do. And opening and closing a loop like that in 50 seconds is sometimes really just not possible to that degree. But if you can plant that seed, and to the example of the food, like I want to hook your eye with something that looks delicious. And then I want you to care enough to get in your car because the chef gave so many fucks to go to the farmer's market, find and source these products. This is his mom's recipe, whatever it is, like for you to have this kind of emotional tie in to then say, I will try this. And I'm not just going to hit the same 3 restaurants I go to consistently. I will add them into the mix and hopefully they stick. And that's really where one of my favorite principles is fully outside of like the marketing conversation typically,
Hmm.
but I fully believe that service is the strongest form of marketing on the planet. And I do believe that every company is a service company if they really care and they really think about how they can create these like wow moments and experiences for people. And so my goal is to get people as close to the finish line as possible. And then
Hmm.
for those clients to really wow them so that they stay in that ecosystem and they want to stick around that campfire and hear more of the stories about why they should continue to support this business in perpetuity.
Right on. So, I mean, kind of making some other examples. You have like, if you think about it, you know, I think it was like Walt Disney or something like that. It was like for every one bad moment, we need like 12 good ones or 12 amazing ones.
Yeah,
In order
it's
for that
something
to
like
like
that. But yeah,
work out, make sense. So with ads and marketing, how many amazing moments do you have to like make inside of a single ad for it to actually be effective?
Man, this number has continued to go up. I think the last time I checked, it was something like 37 touch points to go from like cold to engaged. And I don't know how true that really is. And I think there are other ways that you can kind of circumvent some of these like long, arduous, and repetitive processes to really make that impact. But I think we are really entering an era where information is so readily available and we have this expectation almost of perfection that it's probably like 100 to 1 for one bad experience. Like people write a narrative and then they stick to it. They don't want to be questioned on that narrative about it, you know? So you could have one bad experience and that's it. They're not messing with you for life. So I would say it's more challenging, and that's why it's about creating that experience from the front end, because after you've bid once, if you go back and the second time it's maybe not fully there, you'll probably stick around to maybe give it a third try. But
Mm,
I don't think we have many more than first impressions more and more as things continue.
yeah, 7 seconds. That's all you get. Um,
Yeah, if you're lucky.
True. Okay. So, I mean, in regards to like, you know, clearly highly creative, and so this is a big question. You clearly have a highly creative and very independent team that has a lot of autonomy and a lot of like agency to do what they're gonna do. Um, how do you keep your team focused on the main objective?
Excellent question again. I am grateful to have the team that I have today. And that's not without its growing pains. You know,
Mm,
not everyone should be in your boat or your rocket ship. And for me, it's a rocket ship and there's seats available, but not everyone was supposed to stay in them. And so if people got to hit the eject pod, that's cool. But grateful to say the people I have around me, they not only want to see me do better and push me into more of that CEO role, because I wore all the hats to develop GreyDot Media or GreyDot Marketing now, I wore all the hats to get here. I'm so natural to want to dive into the trenches where they're like, get out, go shake more hands, go do more of this, have more of these podcast interviews, do more of this creative
mhm,
stuff and trust them. And I think that was the biggest piece for me was it wasn't that I didn't trust them, but because I had been so much of a perfectionist in doing it all that I had a hard time letting go. And so the further I let people go and do their own thing and then really give people that space to fail. I think that was a big one as well. Is like we not only celebrate our wins, we celebrate our losses. We celebrate our failures. We've gone out to grab beers after tremendous L's in the same way we've gone out to dinners for tremendous dubs, you know? So it's like
yeah.
really giving people that understanding that this is a space for you to be a human.
Mhm,
And if you can thrive in that, amazing. But that's going to come with accountability. That's going to come with an expectation of growth. I'm going to poke and lovingly prod and push you towards where you may not be comfortable, but if the feedback that comes back is like, cool, that's not the lane, or that's not an improvement for the business, like fine, we're going to axe it. I really don't run anything like a dictator.
mhm.
And I think that's what really has brought the team to where we're at now, where we're small but mighty, but we're always willing to explore and find new ways to be better at our craft, but also be better in terms of just our overall operational efficiency too.
Right on. So, I mean, there was a point where you did not have this kick-ass team that you have now, right? There's a point where you
Yeah.
were in the trenches doing everything by yourself and you're stressed out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What was that
Yep.
like? What was day one like?
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest like wow this sucks moment came. I was in the midst of building a more digital agency, so workforce that was kind of distributed across the planet. A couple people that I could rely on to some degree here locally, and I'd crossed the threshold of making 10 grand in a month. And to me at the time, that was like the most astronomical amount of money I could ever think to making. And I sat there with it and I was just empty. I was like depressed. I was borderline in tears because I was in an office by myself. Business partner at the time disappeared, and it was just on me. And so, on one hand, I found this gear in myself I didn't know I had, and I
Mm,
explored this route that I thought was going to be the route for me because I read the 4 Hour Work Week, and this seemed like the thing. And because it just felt so empty and like lacking substance, I was just kind of depressed, and I didn't really know what to do. I just knew that I needed change because this was not going to be the sustainable path. So that luckily I ended up losing one of the clients that was in the pipeline that was like 4 or 5 grand of that, but it was like a sense of relief. I was like, good. I
Yeah.
actually wasn't excited about that project. I wasn't excited to work with that person. And I don't know what to do, but I know that if I'm trusting my gut, it feels better. So I started playing around with the idea of like working with a team and exploring what that looked like. And, I don't know how far into the weeds you want to go with it, but it did set me down the path where I was then like, you know what? I don't want to just be the guy that has a team of VAs and a bunch of people around the planet that don't all necessarily share my ethos. And that's not to say there's not great people across the planet. Like, no, we've worked with
Yeah.
tremendous talent. But what I do like
I
is
was work
being able
I
to
was
look to
working
my
with you.
left and right and find people there,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Taking like the people that you have and actually, I mean, not just people that you have, people who you encounter, people who are like helping you build and making it work. Um, like you said earlier, capture the ship and being on the spaceship in your case is pretty astounding trajectory. Like, um, so as far as working on an online agency, because I feel like a lot of people would just go, I just need to offshore this stuff as soon as possible, and it's whatever. How important is it to actually work with people who you enjoy working with?
I'd say it's everything. I don't think there's this separation between work and life. No matter what, you're bringing your life into your work and vice versa. And if it's just a job, cool. That's awesome. Go be somewhere else. This rocket ship is not for you. Like, it's not because I'm expecting ridiculous amounts of work and unrealistic hours, but I want people that enjoy what they're doing and they enjoy the people they're doing it with. Like, there's plenty of other jobs out there, and I've just found like the people that care and share your ethos are going to help you go tremendously further and faster than just scale alone, because there are people that I've been around that are like, no, this is just a sales issue, and I'm like, yeah, sales would improve some things, but realistically I don't want to sell shit if I don't like the team that's going to provide the service at the end of the day. Because if the phone rings and there's something wrong, we care, right? We're not a churn kind of agency. We're not just gonna be like, okay, cool. You owe us for the remainder of this contract. Like, no, we're committed to figuring things out and making it right. And sometimes we're spot on. Sometimes it's a misalignment of values. But if you don't have the right people backing you up, then you're
Mm,
constantly like just working for the sake of like what? Like, I never understood that. So for me, this was always what it was supposed to be. I've just had to be reminded of it by inviting the wrong people and trying to keep them on too long.
yeah,
I think I have rose-colored glasses. I'm like annoyingly optimistic, and so I believe in everyone's potential, and sometimes too much. And I think I've definitely
I
learned that
mean,
lesson enough that now I can say, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, and
right.
you can go build your own rocket ship or find your own path. And I encourage you, just please stay out of the way of mine.
I 100% agree. I mean, it's chasing fulfillment at the end of the day, right? It's
Big
chasing
time.
that big
Mitigating
piece of
regret.
fulfillment. Of
Yeah.
course, right? We're all gonna be finding something at the end of the road, like whether or not it's happiness or not, or satisfaction, you know. Um, you mentioned something earlier that was very interesting as far as how, working in a team that actually supports, but also you support them, and um, how optimistic you are. I feel like a lot of CEOs, and I've spoken to plenty, are this amazing optimist who are like, I believe in you. I believe in your passion. I'm sure you have potential. Like, let's go, let's go. You know,
Yeah.
I've definitely fallen into that trap plenty of times. How do you deal with it now?
And so the trap being which part?
Like this overly optimistic view of everything, like it's not like a bad thing. It's just that sometimes, you can spin your wheels on the wrong thing.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I think that life is either a drama or a comedy, and I'll choose comedy every day.
Yeah.
And that with that, I have to believe there's an upside, and I have to believe that there's a possibility. And I think that that just also contributes to the problem-solving nature that I represent and that the team kind of embodies as well, which is, if we don't know, we're going to figure it out. and we're going to exhaust whatever we need to exhaust to try to find that. And so the other piece is it's not so much about happiness because happiness is super fleeting and it's a
Mhm.
nice dopamine hit, but you could doom scroll for an hour and get a few dopamine hits along the way too. So finding really where that sense of purpose kind of aligns with where you are and what you're doing is it's a mixed bag. And luckily for me, I've just continued to have the opportunity to check in with myself, and that this business gives me that opportunity as well, that I get to do it not only for myself but for others. And there are some times like I'm the highest energy in the room and I come in at a 12 and the team is at like a 6 or a 5, and I just got to be like, cool.
Let's
Get
go.
to your task list and I'll check it on you. And, if you need anything, let me know. And other times it is just pulling them aside, just say, hey, like, everything good? Like, do you need some time? Like, giving
Mhm.
people that space to really have that human experience. And sometimes that means you just got to take a break from work and you got to go touch grass and you really just got to shake it up a little bit and
Yeah.
making that space, and then also taking it for myself. Cause I think that's another piece of this too. Like, I'm not 100% on every day either. And there are days where it does suck. Like, that's just the truth of running a business.
Mhm.
It's gonna suck sometimes, and you're gonna get punched in the face. And sometimes you gotta smile with blood in your mouth, and other times you just gotta go hibernate a little bit. But it's
Yeah.
on you to really dictate what that means.
Oh my gosh. I felt every word of that. Okay. Lived that for sure. Definitely smiling with a mouthful of blood. Definitely.
Yeah, it's kind
Um,
of a gruesome analogy, but if
no,
you're
it's
building
perfect.
something,
Like
you get it.
you're eating glass. That's what it is. It's just you're sitting there and you're starving and you're like, I'm hungry, but there's no amount of food that could fill me. Um, it is exactly what it's. I don't even know how, but yeah, everyone feels it whenever they're like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Uh, after you suffer.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think that's a prerequisite for anything you wanna do that's worth something. If you don't have to either eat the glass or walk through it, then you're not really gonna appreciate the context of what it meant to actually build it. I mean, in your space of fitness too, like, the muscles don't grow if they don't get sore every once in a while, right?
oh yeah, totally. I mean, honestly, I went on a 15-mile hike with the Marine yesterday, so I feel great. Um, but I mean, great change of pace. It got me out of my comfort zone. Came back, was like, I have a fresh head. I feel very plugged in. But what do you do when you're in a creative rut and you're trying to start a new project?
I don't I don't force. I think that's one of the things too, like, there's plenty to be said for, "I'm gonna sit down and I'm not gonna walk away for 8 hours." There's plenty of value to that, but I think for me, the answers have always come in silence. And these creative projects especially, you can follow a mold, you can follow inspiration, you can do what's been done, but I think the best projects come from either that collaborative effort where you're all just kind of spitballing, throwing ideas around, and then you go to bed and then you wake up the next morning and boom, there's something right there that you never thought of or never considered, that I've never experienced by just sitting down and dealing with like, this is what I will do. And I'm a big Hormozy guy. Like, I love the idea of I will do what is required. I carry that into the day to day, like, arduous tasks of the day. But especially
Yeah.
when it comes to a creative project, I've never found force to be a multiplier for anything there.
Mhm.
For me personally.
No, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense to me. I mean, sometimes I kind of had like a reset. You gotta like, hey, I'm checking out for a little bit. Let me hit a refresher and then come back when I'm ready. Um, that's awesome. So what's the process of selling to big companies? This one's a question.
That's a great question too. So much actually, I would say the vast majority of where I'm at in life is a result of relationships and building good rapport and people speaking highly of me in rooms that I'm not in. And I'll forever be grateful for that. We'll forever pay finders fees for those people that do refer us, and they bring our name up in those kinds of conversations. And that's something I learned early on, and I'm incredibly grateful for that lesson. And not because like you need to pay to play, but if you want people to reward those kind of activities, you need to reward them too. So
Mhm.
big clients are no different than small clients, I would say, to that degree. there's a little bit more in terms of logistics. You know, you're not always speaking to the guy or the girl in charge. You have like these layers of bureaucracy that you need to know. You have to play that game if you want to be in that arena. And so that does mean sometimes you're biting your tongue. Sometimes you're dealing with someone that may not always even like you. And it's one of my favorite things when I've come into these situations where someone just like has a wall up, and I'm going to kill them with kindness, because it's one of
Mm,
my favorite things when they flip their narrative about who I am and what we do or whatever it might be. So dealing with larger companies has only happened as a result of great relationships. So Foot Locker, Doco, those would not, I wouldn't be at the conversation had it not been for good relationships with other people that were nurtured across years. And they weren't necessarily because I was thinking with this idea like, oh, I'm going to get something back. Far
mm,
from it. This was just caring and like, yeah, hey, I was friendly, and oh, they remembered I did this, or I posted something for that, and it just refreshed their memories or their ideas or whatever it might be. So building those relationships, but not doing it just for the pure sake of whatever the commercial
mm.
response is going to be for doing so. Um,
That's huge, by the way. Like
yeah,
being able to
that
do
I'm
that.
trying to think of any other piece, but that
I
truly
mean,
sums it up.
that's pretty big as far as like because I being able to give that expectation, right? Being able to give that like emotion and presence and actually be there and actually build that relationship in earnest is incredibly rare. Um, it's a thing that's a skill you have to just build. And
It's
being able to do
huge,
that takes time, it takes effort, it takes a lot of energy. And that's why people don't do it. Cause again, we're not wired to burn calories. We're like
right?
the brain's the most lazy supercomputer on the planet,
It
you
is.
know?
It's fascinating. It's so
Yeah,
fascinating. But yeah, to your point, like I think one of the books that really shifted my whole perspective on this first was How to Win Friends and Influence People. I got that
huge.
book from a previous boss, and I was trying to get into sales, and he told me that this book would be the end all be all for my sales trajectory. And then another one that came up recently is The Go Giver, and both of those books, I think, should be prerequisites to doing business. But I recognize we live in a hyper individualist society that we don't always empathize or even care to learn about other people. And luckily, I just had this gene that truly like cared,
Mhm.
and it's created this like foundation that I get to just try to scale on top of now.
Yeah, yeah. That's that's awesome. And I mean, Super Communicators is a really good book too, because then you're able
Which
to like
one?
identify Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg is really good
Okay, I'll have to
because
throw that in the mix.
you're able to it's he talks a lot about what type of conversation are we having? Are we having a logical one? Are we having an emotional one? Are we having like a and being able to kind of meet people where they're at in that actual conversation in real time is massive for creating those relationships because each moment, right?
Yeah, I'll have to definitely
Cool.
throw that on my Audible.
Highly recommended. And like his book on habits, so the power of habit is easily my favorite book of all time.
Oh, I think I might have listened to that one.
It was a bestseller a while ago and should continue to be one. Um, okay, how do you build a high quality brand? And then how do you decide what tools to use in your arsenal? So,
Yeah, the tools one is interesting because we get pitched a new tool, especially with the AI era in full swing. It's like constant bombardment of people offering either tools or it's ads on being served for the next big thing, and everything is sold as clickbait, you know. So tools, definitely polling other people that are doing similar things to you is going to get you way better results than, you know, 100 different news articles that are all affiliate links and bullshit. I would say on the tool side of things. Um, and then I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question?
so how do you build a high quality or strong brand? That's
Yeah,
part one.
yeah, brand. I think consistency and really giving a fuck. And I should have asked earlier if I can cuss on this podcast. If you
Go
prefer
for
that
it. No,
language,
I
forgive
swear like a
me. Yeah.
sailor. I was impressed we lasted this long.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. I've done it a couple times. I was like, shit. But
Nah,
yeah,
it's fine. It's fine.
I think the brands that win, they're the ones that give a fuck. Like
Yeah.
You look at like luxury brands are my favorite example because everyone's convinced that they're the Louis or the Gucci of their industry, and then you find out that their marketing looks a lot more like a house party flyer that was made on Word.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that your brand's consistency is way more than your logo. It's way more than your color palette. And we see brands like Nike, and they've stood the test of time, but because they had their roots in quality. And I think that quality is hard to escape when it's really done right. And that
Yeah.
the best brands have that at the forefront. And it's not just a profit centric like vehicle. It
Mhm.
starts in that foundation of really creating something that you want to last. And it's not just like hype and gimmicks and growth for the sake of growth's sake. And I think it's really considering your customers as a human and as one of your strongest brand ambassadors from the get. And that's not just like, oh, we have this loyalty program. So you spend $100, you get $10 back. It's about doing the unscalable. Like my favorite model to look at is Zappos. And Tony Hsieh's book like fundamentally changed like my trajectory as well. And this idea of like really giving a fuck beyond what the limitations look like for your vertical or your brand or whatever. And so I think that those brands are the ones that really stand the test of time because they're building something they want to outlast even their brand, even at the risk of it not being infinitely scalable.
Mhm. So, I mean, I've seen things like businesses sending like companies cards. So, for example,
Mm,
if you open a bank account, the bank will send you a card.
yeah.
If you buy a car, you get a call from the dealer like a month later. Hey, how do you enjoy that car you bought? Right.
Yeah.
These are things that are very much the human touch. With AI, it feels like we have more or less of the human touch being put in, even though it's still doing the same action. How do you see that human touch being added in the future?
I really hope that with all of the scale that we unlock with human AI combos and these massive automations and increasing personalization, that more and more people realize where the efforts are truly at. Because it's nice to get like cold outreach emails now that you can tell AI scraped my website, got some information from X, Y, and Z, and put together what it thought would be a thoughtful response. I actually crack up when I see them. I still mark them as
Yeah.
spam or delete them, but it cracks me up. But I really hope that it does bring forth an era where there's no reason not to care because you do have all these beautiful gleaming insights and that you're also asking for feedback along the way. I think that's one of the biggest pieces that people kind of gloss over with these customer satisfaction surveys and call it good. Like, no, ask where you're failing. Like, ask for feedback on like what actually sucks about this. Like,
Hmm.
really invite people to the conversation for where you're kind of lacking, and I hope that that kind of makes more of a resurgence or an immersion. I don't even know. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know anyone else that's really doing it to that degree.
Well, okay. Sony and Apple did this a lot where they had a paid critic, where they had someone who would criticize, who was an expert in the field, who's an expert in the industry, who would blatantly criticize the absolute hell out of their products and would just demolish them. The reason why Apple did it was because Sony did it. And that's, it's everyone's copying someone, but it's so good
Yeah,
because you need criticism. You need some degree of like, I'm not perfect and this is still a work in progress.
right.
Yeah. Um, that's incredible. Let's see. Okay. As a leader of a company, you had gone from 0 people to you and another person, and then you went from
Yes.
you and another person to you and 3 people, and now you're at
Mm.
6.
So it's three of us day to day, and then I'd say there's another three that are not necessarily like full time, but still I would consider part of GreyDot Media, GreyDot Marketing.
Okay. So what was it like going from 0 people to you and another person?
That It started really organically too. It's so funny kind of looking backwards. I actually met Kaylee, so the woman that does all of our web design projects. I met her at a meetup, and at the time she was selling websites for $200 or $300. And I saw her website, I saw her work, and I was like, "Hey, no pressure. Met you at that meetup. Loved our conversation. Would love to just grab a coffee with you." And I came into the meeting and I was like, "Look, I'm building this thing. And truthfully, I could never compete with you because you're underselling this like by a lot.
Mm,
And if you do nothing with this conversation, quadruple your prices at a minimum, please, because you're doing great work for pennies on the dollar. And I went through this era of my own business. And if I can help you fast forward past that, great. I get karma points. You maybe see me at another mixer, another meeting, whatever, cool, but no harm, no foul. And that conversation opened up the next conversation, which was a guy I met at another mixer, another event that did PPC and SEO. So hit it off with him, and it was a very personal relationship that I was like, you got great vibes and you're a
mm,
connector. And I like that. And I kind of want
nice.
to emulate some of that. So we started as that, like built a friendship, chatted about potentials of working together. And very much like I worked with Kaylee in a way where I was like, hey, I'll throw you a project, feel out how that goes, keep working towards it, but I would love at scale to bring you in. And I've always told people like, hey, this is what I'm trying to build. If it works out, would love to have you be a part of that. And I did the same thing with his name is Fredo. Still great friends. He chose a different path, not because he hated marketing, but because he wanted to pursue his spiritual path. And so of course I'm not going to stand in the way of someone finding their fulfillment through their religion in any way, shape, or form.
Right
So
on.
he stepped away, but that did kind of start the engines in terms of like bring people in, feel them out a little bit. And, you know, it wasn't like a marriage proposal. It was more like, hey, you want to go on a date? And then we went on another date and another date and another
Yeah.
date, and then just kind of bloomed into this beautiful relationship.
Yeah. Those interactions, again, it's building a relationship over and over again. It's such a key theme, but it's a human experience. It's the human experience, it's like we're here to meet people and then, meet people. Right.
Right.
I mean, that's how community works. That's how we get stuff done, especially big stuff. So you are now at 2 people on your roster. Okay. So we're
Yep.
halfway through the journey.
Yep.
Now you got
And then,
3.
yeah. So I met Clay by proxy of one of the photographers that was on 916 Pics at the time.
Hmm.
And I knew video was going to be huge and I knew it was growing. And I knew that from my experience doing video, I didn't want to do video. But I knew that was, like I said, just going to be an asset that needed to be at the marketing conversation and would be sitting at the table. So I told him, like, hey, I'm working on this thing. I think you got a ton of talent, a ton of potential. And again, just started serving little projects here and there and really built rapport by taking nothing from a lot of the projects. Like I wasn't middlemaning it to take a piece for a lot of this stuff, especially with the media thing. And I think that's been another piece too to really build a strong team is to have these open comms about like, hey, this is what the money looks like. And,
Hmm.
you know, I of course like have aspirations of making more, like I think is within a healthy range, but it was never about like withholding that information. Cause to me, what I wanted to be was a resource where I didn't have one and where
Hmm.
people were gatekeeping this information or over leveraging my time, skills, and talent. I wanted people to see, like, look, I did it. You could probably go do better. Maybe you will, and you go do it on your own. That's cool. But we'll always have that good relationship if that was the case, because
Yeah.
that to me meant more than any type of leverageable asset I can gain from them. And so, you
Hmm.
know, you bring people in that, like I said, tried it, didn't work, had to let them go, had to part ways. And yeah, it sucked because it was like, damn, that's infinite potential I thought that this person had. But oh well, I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing. These things got to keep going, whether I like it or not. So
Hmm.
yeah, just bringing people in and again, giving that space to grow into that role or to have those uncomfortable conversations to say, I'm sorry, like I don't think we're meant to do this for forever.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. That's a break if I ever heard one. It
Yeah.
is. Those are hard conversations too. Those are extremely difficult. Um,
Yeah, not
I mean,
fun.
obviously
My least
this,
favorite kinds.
Of course there are, because if you're an optimist, you're like everything's gonna be amazing, and then it's
Right.
not, and you're like, this is bupkis. Um, if if you had to go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I should have thought about this question when I was playing
This was
through
gonna
ideas
come.
and thoughts of something that you might bring.
This is
I
the
should have thought
easiest
about it.
one to see coming too, but
Yeah,
I had to run
I
you through
know.
it.
And it's tough because I don't really romanticize nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I'm also grateful for everything that I've done. But I can say I would have started, if I can go back in time and tell myself, trust your gut and nothing else, that's exactly what I would do. Because I've
That's
had the
awesome.
answers time and time again and walked the path that I knew I shouldn't be on for much longer than I should have been on. And I could have avoided the path completely. So if I could do anything different, it'd be go back and say, hey, it's going to sound really weird and woo woo. Trust the woo woo. Just go with it. Just trust the universe has got your back and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. No, fortune favors the bold. That's the reason why that's the saying,
Yep.
you gotta just go for it.
Big
Um,
time.
we have I'm starting to do it more. I mean, I've been doing a lot. So earlier in NutriCompass's career, I did a bodybuilding competition. This was last year, as a big PR stunt to showcase the ability of the app. Like, hey, this is how much time we're going to save you for logging food. And here's how precise we're going to be, for logging food.
Hmm.
And that's been paying dividends, but also built a bunch of relationships, like you said earlier, in the
Yep.
industry, building, in there. Um, when it comes to building those interconnected networks, what do you recommend people do?
Man, you gotta go be uncomfortable because the first time I went to a networking event, I hated every single second of it. And as like a look for the bright side, I could not find a single bit of bright side. It was cringy. It was a business card farm. I didn't even have business cards at the time. It was just so uncomfortable. But I knew there was a reason that people did it, and I needed to find whatever that unlock was for me. And I think it's being willing to experience that cringe, and you're gonna fumble on words. You're gonna say something that's probably gonna like throw someone off or even offend someone at times. You just gotta deal with that and keep going. And what really made a shift for me in terms of like how I look at networking completely was, can I just talk to one cool human at this
Mm,
event? Can I just meet one cool person and not even be concerned with any sort of financial impact to anything? If there's a lead in the pipeline, whatever, cool. I don't really care. I was more so just interested in connecting at a human level. And that was the biggest game changer for anything I can say towards network building. And then the second piece of that, which is something that I struggle with naturally that I'm trying to work on, is keeping that relationship alive, but not doing it to where it feels like a cadence, right? Because I've met people, plenty of people that I can tell, like I'm in their CRM. I get a message every 30 to 45 days, and that's cool. Like we've still built a relationship, but I can feel the difference between those people where we just connected on a human level. And,
mm,
we may not chat for 6 months and then I see him at another event and we'll pick right back up where we left off. So it's really just about approaching it with the mindset, for me at least. Like your mileage may vary, but for me,
yeah.
it's really just approaching it with the idea that there's a human that you're talking to that has their own insecurities,
Hmm.
their own issues, their own stuff that they're dealing with. And so make that space for them
Right.
without it having to be this transactional, like, how much can I automate this person to get them in my pipeline?
Hmm. I mean, their existence is just as complicated as yours,
What was that?
right? Their existence is just as complicated as
Oh,
yours. Like
exactly.
that's just the way I kind of shorthand it.
Hmm.
Because I mean, when especially when you're doing stuff and you're just constantly doing stuff, it is a train ride. It is an absolute train ride. And sometimes the train it hits a break, it hits something. Sometimes it goes off the rails a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Like Todd, thank you so
Yeah, and
much.
I like to remind everyone, like, we're all 8-year-olds cosplaying as adults, So that's gonna cause some messiness just by product of that, let alone the
Yeah.
complexities of having to run or build a business or just be out there and hustle.
No, yeah. I mean, those are just kids that have been here longer, which is so funny. Like it's, I mean, we grow up, we mature, we learn things, but at the same time, we're still like ourselves, you
Yep.
know. It's a weird thing to figure out and then go, well, I'm me, and everyone else is also themselves, and wow, what's going on here? And you
Right.
kind of like whip around and you're looking around like it's you see the world very differently.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
like what would be the biggest distinction between someone who's making it happen at like already have achieved a modicum of success compared to someone when they're first starting out?
In terms of the people that I want to connect with, it's passion. Passion
Okay.
will always ignite the something in me that I love, and I love the craftsman, and that craft could be physical product or just service-based business, whatever it is, but that it'll always resonate with me for those people that put effort in where others may ignore it. And I like to catch those details. And so passion for me is one of those things that it's hard to fake passion. It's really hard to fake it. Like you can stand on a soapbox and really preach at people and like really try to convey something, but it doesn't quite hit the same as someone that's just passionately committed to whatever that is that they're trying to do, be it the creative arts or more of a tangible, like business building exercise, whatever it is. But yeah, passion is one of my favorite things on the planet.
Right on. That's an awesome note. That is a beautiful note. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel sufficiently satisfied with this. This is good.
Well, glad I could provide some value. Thanks
No,
for letting me ramble at you for an hour.
are you kidding, Todd? I'm gonna watch this back like 3 times. It's fine. Like I'm gonna be like, what? And then he said what? Okay. And then I'm gonna write some down, and we'll be chilling.
Well,
Um.
you got my number too, so you're allowed to just text me whenever you need a voice note of inspiration.
Oh my. You have no idea how much I'm gonna abuse that. Like okay, because like I'm still starting out here on early entrepreneur, still like kind of I'm at like point 0.5, software company. We're getting started. We're
Yep,
trying to build our website. I hate our website. I'm gonna update the hell out of our website. I have no idea how to approach building a website, but I'm gonna figure this out today to make it
yep.
like a good one, right? We're reaching out to business owners, we're doing all this stuff, and we're really looking at how to kind of weave in this interconnected web of how we connect the user to the destination.
Hmm.
um, and that's one of the things that I find really interesting with how you've approached Doko and like all these community projects, because you're conveying such a vibe and you're conveying like both you have to come here to experience this is like the experience. Um, and so like how to do that is like, if I could bottle that, that would be amazing. Um,
Well, I think you made great steps by doing the bodybuilding thing. I mean, that to me is amazing because that's an incredible physical toll that you have to commit to, and obviously your app is contributing to that. But you showed up, and I think like so much of really building anything is showing up, and that's hard to fake. Like, yeah, I could help you come up with some great taglines. We can burn some ad dollars together and start trying to collect data and do all that other fun stuff, but I think nothing escapes that real community action and really showing up. And it's also how you get a sense of like, is this working for people? And because those people that actually like bang with you will tell
mhm,
you like, oh, hey, did you know you have a bug where I had an apple and it actually categorized it as a kiwi? Like, you
yeah.
know what I mean? And like, there are some of those things that could be lost if you didn't really build that community.
hmm And they're honest. Like people are savages when it comes to like giving honest feedback on something that logs their food. Because we have a feature where we calculate, and I love sixth grade math for this reason. Um, Based off of how much weight you're losing, here's how many calories a pound of fat is. Here's where what body fat percentage you're going to be at given this date, right? And the amount of time it takes to actually get it accurate, like that's already been done thanks to mathematics. But the other part of logging the food accurately in a time span that makes sense, in a time span where people are, again, the most lazy supercomputer on the planet,
Yep.
in a practical way, is just it's going to take a lot of fun time, but we're going to get it done. Um, and a
I
large part
commend
of
the
it is
efforts,
because
bro.
I mean I need it. I need like my goal is to like be able to sleep in on like Monday and get up and go to the grocery store and buy whatever I want, like basic stuff. But
Yeah.
um And at the same time, I also would want to build something that helps people who first go into the gym get to their dream physique faster in a more efficient way than it would be if they had like walk around this aimless scale of like, oh, great, I have a gym membership that I paid for, but I didn't get the results I paid for, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
that's why so many people leave the
Yeah.
gym.
Yeah. It's and especially in such a noisy space, being able to provide clarity and simplicity, I
Mhm.
think it's a natural recipe for success.
Thank you. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that because my goodness. um, so oops. Do you take a lot of like as a CEO, as a planner, do you take a lot of notes? How do you coordinate a big marketing campaign?
Oh
I
man.
know. I'm
Now
squeezing the lemon.
that's the real dirt. You're unearthing the real dirt right now. So being the jack of all trades and wearing all
Hmm.
the hats, like it was doable to a point, and I am not a natural project manager. I do
Hmm.
not naturally think in terms of like chunking these things out that lead to this final outcome. I'm like, okay, what's the goal? This is the path. Boom, let's run at it. And what I found, especially as it relates to really trying to delegate, that's not a scalable path because you leave a lot to be determined by not really giving people true and helpful insight as to what your expectation really is. So notes have been huge. Really trying to keep receipts is a big reason for why you need notes. But looking at the product as more than just the deliverable was a big shift for me. And I started to realize, oh, I'm not pricing this appropriately at all because I'm not thinking of all the front loaded work. Being
Hmm.
so much of a doer meant I was just going to get shit done, but it's not a scalable route. Like, yeah, I can be the one guy that does it all for a long time until I burn out. But yeah, having notes, an improving project management plan. I'll say it first. Like, I do not naturally like to wear that hat, but doing the things I don't like and trying to create better process, create better comms, create better workflows, like all these things are an ongoing process that makes for a better campaign. And what I found is like where I thought like, oh man, I just want to be the creative. I want to create and output.
Hmm.
I make better stuff, even if not directly the thing like me shooting the camera or building the ad or whatever that might be. The product is better with that better planning. And it makes for way more clarity, way less confusion from everyone's standpoint by having those notes and having this process and having these check ins. And then to the point of that feedback thing I'm talking about, like after action review. I want to chat with people. I want to see like, hey, what could we have done to make this better? And that's how our process continues to improve is having these hard conversations and even showing up to say like, I felt like we sucked because we did X, Y, and Z,
Yeah,
but was I misreading that? And even leading people in to let them know they're safe to give you that kind of feedback.
that's awesome. Now, if we were to put that on a time scale of 1 week, what would that look like?
The time scale of 1 week,
Yeah. So
like
like how many check-ins are you
from
doing? Are you checking in individually with each person a week? Are you doing, the
oh,
follow-up
like from
reviews?
the operational side of things, like with
Yeah.
my team.
Yeah. From like
Yeah.
the
So we have
nerdy, this is nitty-gritty stuff.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I dig it. We have bookends. So Monday and Friday, first call of the day is team huddle. We chat through anything that could be a blocker, anything that needs oversight or clarity, kind of stacking the deck of priority for the week. And then everyone kind of takes that and they march. I do a Wednesday check in with Justin, and he's like my right hand. So we talk more than just like these are the tasks of the day or things that he's working on or that I'm working on, but we're talking about the business and we're talking on things like that are more than just like the actions that we do, but how we can improve said actions and said output. And then yeah, Friday it's another feel good kind of check in, letting everyone know like, hey, cool, this is what you're gonna finish by the end of the day. Amazing. Have a great weekend, and we keep it all buddy buddy and pretty light on Fridays.
Nice. Nice. So okay, Monday is like we're going at it. We're figuring out here's the problems, the organization, here's the problems with like, the projects or whatever's getting in the way.
Yep,
By Wednesday, it seems like we're tapering off a little bit more. Things have gotten done. We're kind of, ready to go. And then Friday, we're going into that reset with the weekend and then back on Monday.
exactly.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. When it comes to building, okay, like some of the big plan. So let's
Mhm.
say you have, with Doko, what's the process for building a thing for Doko?
Forgive me. I was so excited to talk to you. The one thing I didn't do was plug in my laptop.
No, you're good. This is fine. I love when this happens. We actually had a
Yeah.
podcast fail yesterday, so this is perfect for me.
Oh, you said you had one fail yesterday?
I had one fail yesterday. My friend Dom. Oh, great Dom. Yeah, it's fine. Uh, this is a great episode so far. Okay. Well, while we wait for Todd, here's a word from our sponsors. Hi, Just Mickle and News Compass. You should go download it. It's available now in the App Store, and we are an Apple. We are
Amazing.
also we're just on iOS right now. We're actually going to go update the version that you see on the Apple Store
Sweet.
this
Yeah,
week.
it says it's
So
trying to
go ahead,
reconnect. I don't know if it
download
will or not, but
newscampus.io on the Apple Store, and then give us your feedback in the comments. We do look at those. We give many fucks, as Todd said earlier, about the podcast, about what's going on. Give us feedback on this. On like this has been a huge project that I've been working on, and I'm excited about what's going on here. I want to keep bringing more people on, but I also want to do a lot of things that I think are very interesting. So, you know, obviously people want to start new businesses. People start different businesses. None of us can do marketing. Some people are going to do products. Some people are going to build things that work in energy and transfer energy and like chemistry and, you know, all types of things. So I don't mind going out, reaching out to people and doing the engagement personally, because it's fun and I like meeting people, but it would be nice to get a little bit more input, you know, it would be nice. Um, Either way, that is set aside. I can run it back with Todd at another time. I have no problem whatsoever. In fact, we ran way over time as far as an hour. And, he seems like a great guy. He seems like, he's done some great stuff as far as how marketing works, how understanding it works. Um, Definitely gonna take some great notes. Highly encourage you. You can comment or DM the word, um, either 0 to 1 or News Compass, and I will send you the list of Justin's rules. I'm going to update it. The format's terrible, but I have to update it before I give it out. Um, Let me know if you actually want me to make a list of rules that people who are total newbies can follow to help themselves get better at life. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a good one.